We would like to acknowledge the history of the Indigenous territory on which we are meeting today. It seems all the more fitting because Indigenous peoples have stewarded these lands for thousands of years. The Attawandaron peoples once settled in this region along the Algonquin, and the Haudenosaunee people and use this land for traditional beaver hunting grounds. The three current long-standing Indigenous groups of this region are the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Lenape. The First Nations communities closest in proximity to us in this territory are the Chippewa of the Thames First Nation, the Oneida Nation of the Thames, and the Munsee Delaware Nation. We give this acknowledgement as allies in this group to preserve and improve the environment as a sign of respect. So thank you for hosting us here tonight. Again, I want to thank the Urban League for having us here. I also want to thank Deloitte, who has very graciously offered to sponsor the series of community conversations that we're going to be having. This year, I think there's 3 more that we're going to be having. We'll make sure that you all know about them. And I would like to invite Chris Dowding up to bring remarks on behalf of Deloitte.
Thanks, Martha. On behalf of Deloitte, I'd like to thank everyone for joining us here. You know, the Vital Signs Program and the London Community Foundation are really important to our community, and making sure that things that are important to our community get the attention they deserve is important at Deloitte. So thanks very much for having us here, especially for having it in the last week of April and giving me a great excuse to get out of the office in personal tax season. So I appreciate that very much. Thank you. Thanks, Martha.
Thanks, Chris. Audit season is always a wonderful time of year, isn't it? I would like to invite Bill Hill to come up now and do a smudge for us.
Hello, my name is Standing Strong Spirit, and I'm a Mohawk. And it is with great humility that I stand in an energy of this. People trying to take care of the land, people caring about where you're living and trying to use your energy to make the energy replenish. So it is an honor to be asked to come here and do this smudge. Just prior to starting, I always ask my dad, hey Dad, because he's not here physically anymore, if there's any chance you could possibly show yourself. I'd love that, Dad, because you always said you'd be there with me when I was a little bit nervous. And when I have to stand up in front of people to speak, of course I'm going to be a little bit nervous. And it's because I pick up on your energy too. So I'm wondering, you know, how will I see you, Dad? How am I going to do it? How are you going to pull this one off? And this gentleman just entered the room, and his name's Ron Hill. That's my father's name. And I saw Ron come in, and I thought, there you go, Dad. So I thank you, Ron, for coming here too and being here as part of our community.
You want me to be here?
Can always count on you, Ron. Not can So I want to light this smudge in honor of what you need, in honor of how you call for it, in honor of your mom, the one who gave you your heartbeat, the one who gave you your life. I light it in honor of every one of your moms. And if they're here, I light it in honor of the energy that they carry. And I light it for her mom then, your grandmother. And I light it for all the mothers that are here, that have given life. And even the ones that are still carrying and ready to give life. So when I light this, I want you to think of those women, those kind, loving women. And if you've never smudged before, I'm not going to come around and smudge everybody. But I am going to light this in honor of that energy. And I will walk about the room, and when you breathe this in, I'm going to ask you to think about what you need and breathe in what you need, because I can't come to smudge every one of you. But the idea of it is to release negative energy that you carry. Beautiful negative energy. I love negative energy. It is the balance to the positive. It's just balance. So whatever's negative in your life, I want you to try and think about how you can grasp a hold of that to balance out all the good fortune that you do have. So when I light this in honor of your moms. I will walk about the room and you can continue on with this, with your presentations and whatnot. And when you breathe it in and you can smell it, just think of what you need. When you're exhaling, think about what you don't want to carry, because we all carry things we don't want to carry. That's part of your life. But when I come around with it, I won't come to you to smudge. But at least you'll be able to smell it and think of those women that I was talking about. And those good men in your life too. Those kind men, right? So I'm going to walk about the room and you can go ahead and we'll start. But I will just walk about the room. And when you breathe it in, just make sure you take care of yourself first. Make sure you line up that energy that you carry first so that you can go and help all the other energy that's in your life. Be very selfish when you breathe this in. Selfish is a beautiful word when it doesn't cost anybody anything, when you're actually caring for you. So thank you for this opportunity.
Thank you. We're going to get started with Brian Salt. Brian is with Salthaven, founder of Salthaven Animal Rescue, incredible facility.
Well, I'm grateful to be here. I'm Brian Salt from Salthaven Wildlife Rehabilitation and Education Center located in Mount Bridges. I'm the founder and president of Salthaven. I was asked to address you on some of the challenges we face in our area. And some of those challenges are, I think, just helping people be aware of the environment that we live in, and how we can be more effective in the environment and live harmoniously with it. I think being green at Salthaven means being aware of the animals and the plants that we share the planet with. And I think that's important because it helps us on a spiritual level, but it also helps with physical things as well. Our education programs at Salthaven are really important in that regard. We last year did about 100 presentations at schools and universities, corporations, community groups, and our presentations are geared not just to educate, but to inspire people, to want to make a connection with nature, and then inspire them to want to make changes in the environment that they're responsible for. So it's important to us that people are aware of what's happening in the environment. We see things every day that we wish we didn't have to. It's heartbreaking in some cases. But on the other side of it, that balance is that we, as the expansionary us as humans, have the ability to heal as well as to hurt. And a lot of that goes on at Salthaven as well. We see things that can be prevented. Every year we pick up things that are shouldn't be in the environment. Fishing line, for instance, is a big one. We see a lot of animals that come in that are tangled up in fishing line, and it cuts them deeply. In some cases can even sever legs and limbs. And so the message here, I think, is when we see something in the environment that shouldn't be there, that we should pick it up, take the responsibility of picking it up, putting it in the trash. And based on our experience, we can almost guarantee that every time you do that, you're probably going to be saving a life. And it becomes a little more demanding on our part if we think of it in terms of that. We want to do it. It's that old term, you gotta wanna. And I think if we want to help in the environment, then things can happen. The question we get asked a lot is, does it really make a difference? I mean, as individuals, does it really make a difference? And I believe wholeheartedly it does. We are not delusional about what we do. We see over 2,000 patients a year with about a 65% success rate in getting them back out into their environment. But it does make a difference in the sense that it makes a difference to that animal that we work with. We're not delusional about what we do. We know that there are more wild animals that are killed on Ontario highways in one night than what we can rehabilitate in a whole year. But it does make a difference to that one, kind of that starfish principle. And what's more than that, it makes a difference in the hearts of those volunteers that work with those animals. A greater sense of compassion and sensitivity result. And they come away with a sense of wanting to do more in the environment and helping. Hearts are touched, and minds are open to the possibilities when that type of activity occurs. So does it make a difference? Absolutely it does. If we could change one thing, what would it be? Well, I think a greater awareness. I'd have to side with that more people would become more aware of what's happening around them. Too often, there's not enough people that are aware. There's a lot of people, and I would imagine all of you in this room are on the awareness side. You want to help in the environment, and that's why you're here. But there's far too many people that are fettered with what's best for them as an individual, and not realizing that if they reach out into the environment, they will have a better opportunity to have more for themselves. So with that in mind, I'd like to just thank the London Community Foundation for hosting this tonight and for helping us all to be a little more aware of what's happening in the environment. Animals hurt in the same way we do, but all too often we are the cause of that hurt. Thank you.
Everybody. My name's Skylar, and as you can see, I love trees. But also, I moved to London in 2009, so about 10 years ago. And I came to London because I wanted to go to King's University College and take the Social Justice and Peace Studies program. I really wanted to make change, make a difference, make an impact, and I really wanted to surround myself with other people who would inspire me and motivate me to keep making those changes. And so going to King's made sense for me. While I was at King's, I was able to volunteer and eventually work for Reforest London, hence the photo. And while I was working at Reforest London, I saw a meaningful change. I loved going to work. I loved seeing a little park get 300 or 400 baby trees planted in an afternoon. I loved going to the neighborhoods and planting trees in people's backyards and front yards, and I liked how tangible it was. It was able to turn a result kind of after a couple hours. And so I think that's what really motivated me to keep on working in the environmental sector. Now I'm the executive director at the London Environmental Network, and I've been there for about 2.5 years. At the network, we support other community groups. Many of you guys are members of those community groups throughout London. And we also work with individuals to get them involved in the environment and to get them making changes in their lives. But we realized a couple years ago that by only focusing on the environmental groups who are doing amazing work and focusing on individuals, we were kind of missing a sector. We were missing the business community, who also had a responsibility to start making changes in what they are doing and who are also eager to be making those changes. And so we decided to start working and focusing on that according to London's Community Energy Action Plan, which if you haven't read it, it has a lot of amazing data. There are 3 areas in London where we have our highest emissions coming from. So the first is personal vehicle use. Not super surprising. The second is housing, and then the third is commercial and industrial buildings as well as industrial fleet. And so at the London Environmental Network, we decided that we really wanted to focus on number 3 because we already had experience working, building a community and building a network of organizations. And that's where we decided to focus a lot of our energy. Luckily, at the same time, I started to learn about a program that was across Ontario through Green Economy Canada. And so they have green economy hubs located in 6 different cities. Those hubs help businesses set and achieve sustainability goals. And I really thought that that was super cool. I started to learn more, and you can check them out online, about businesses that were already making significant changes in the work that they're doing. So there's a metal manufacturing company in Cambridge called Veriform. And while they doubled their production space, increased their staff size by 25%, they actually decreased their emissions by 77%. And so it just proves that while you're growing, you can still make reductions and make changes in efficiency. I also learned about the school board in Ottawa who installed solar panels, and they saved $1 million over 5 years through that. And they show that it makes money to do green things, and they actually save money and reduce their emissions at the same time. And so there are 250 businesses across Ontario that are part of these hubs. And I thought, maybe London wants to do it. Maybe London businesses are keen and interested in doing different sustainable activities, and we could spend our resources and time and focus and energy in trying to help them do that. And that's what we decided to do. And there are businesses that were already focused on making changes in London. So we had a lot of early adopters that we can turn to for stories of success. Businesses like Cornerstone Architecture, and I know there's a staff person here tonight, they're already tracking their emissions and making reductions. They're encouraging their staff to do video calls instead of traveling to different facilities and meeting their clients. They encourage staff to take the bus by giving them a bus pass or a parking pass option, and then the staff could take the bus pass instead. There are businesses like Try Recycling, which divert thousands of tons of waste from our landfills every single year, and businesses like Teppermans, who have their own styrofoam recycler and make little recycled cubes of styrofoam that then they give to different projects so that they can have insulative value in new homes. So there's lots of stuff happening. But for us, we wanted more. We always want more. And we want to see all businesses in London taking action on sustainability and joining what we decided to start to develop a green economy hub for London businesses. The London Community Foundation and the City of London have been strong supporters for us to develop this new program for business, as well as we have a variety of founding partners and founding members for our launch, which will be happening in May of this year. And these businesses will be able to join. We'll offer services where we support them in tracking their emissions, their waste, and their water use. We'll help them make a plan to do some reductions. We'll help them develop green teams so that staff at their facilities are engaged and excited to participate in these actions. And all of that was really inspiring to me to see that the business community in London is ready for it. They're primed for it and they're excited. Really what I've kind of realized over the past couple of years is it's really important to have individuals making these changes and these actions, but it's just as important to have government and businesses helping find solutions for climate change alongside of us. And now is the time to be taking bold action and building a movement across London, across Ontario, across Canada, so that we can make sustainability a necessity and not an option, and that we can make sure that we're going to change business as usual for London and the rest of the community. So thanks for listening.
I'm Gabor Sass. I wear many hats. Tonight I'm wearing my Sustainability Activator hat from Small Step Studio. Thank you for having me. I'd like to start with a story. Once upon a time, humans across the world lived in lush food forests where there was plenty of food for humans and for other creatures alike. Did you know that the Genesis in the Bible talks about food forest? Through some really old stories that go back in time, probably tens of thousands of years. This is what it says. The Lord God planted a garden in Eden in the east, and out of the ground the Lord God made to grow every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for food. Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. So what happened to our pristine origins? What happened to the Garden of Eden? What happened to this place of abundant natural beauty? Well, there was the fall. And what fell? The trees. We felled the forests all across Mesopotamia, all across Europe. And the end result were lots of floods. And the humans were expelled from that sylvanic womb. And they were forced to do hard labor on their monoculture crops. So what about in North America, in Turtle Island? This is where things get really interesting. The latest research indicates that before Europeans showed up, large parts of both North and South America were managed food forests by the indigenous groups that lived here. They modified the landscape, not by cutting them down, but by shifting the balance in their favor by growing fruit and nut trees around their settlements. Of course, they also grew some annuals like corn, squash, beans. They had what professionals called horticultural societies, fairly sedentary, one foot in organized societies and the other in nature. So let's bring this home to London. London, an area, was a thriving food forest when the colonists showed up. Of course, the local population was exterminated. All the primeval forest was cut down. And right now, we have about 10% of London's area as part of natural areas. So the food forests are gone, even the orchards that were planted by European colonists. And without a global food supply chain, we would not be able to feed ourselves. But these chains are fragile to economic disruptions. and now more and more so to climatic disruptions. So how do I want to be green in London in 2019? Well, I would like to bring back these food forests, to make London a food forest city once again. For the rest of my talk, I'd like to outline some of the benefits that this transformation will bring to London and its inhabitants in a time of climate disruption and civilizational upheaval. These benefits are now appearing in scientific journals, but I would like to draw on my own personal experience in starting a few food forests in London. So, benefit number one, food forests bring people together. In my community of Kensington Village, we've been able to galvanize community cohesion. On planting day of our food forest in 2015, we had over 75 people, young and old. Some of the folks had never planted a tree. That was the fruit tree or the fruit shrub was their first plant that they ever planted. Out came the guitars in the afternoon and the food, and we had a huge celebration. Since then, we've built a gazebo where we host concert series. There's a Beatles single-on concert coming up on June 9th. Just saying. We've hosted Saturday morning cafes, indigenous sunrise ceremonies, and a lot of other great events. Benefit number two, food forests produce organically grown healthy food. Within a year of that planting of that food forest in Wood Street Park, we had rhubarb, raspberry, elderberry, blackberry, strawberry, aronia, haskap, gooseberries producing lots of fruit. The apple, pear, plum trees, and some of the others, the papas, the American hazelnuts, they take a few more years, and slowly they'll be producing too. So edible forest gardens, this is the fancy name for food forests, mimic nature. You plant an ecosystem, plants that work well together. They share resources. Some plants pull up nutrients from deeper down, so that humans have less resources to apply. After all, do you fertilize a forest? Do you water it? It takes care of itself. So you're trying to mimic nature. Benefit number three, food forests create habitat for animals. Food forests can invite in pollinators, provide habitat for many other types of creatures. And yes, we will have to share the bounty from these food forests with birds, squirrels, raccoons, and all the other critters that live in our urban ecosystems. But in healthy ecosystems, there are different feeding layers that keep things in balance. So that's why it's so great that some of our predators are coming back, our coyotes, and they have these ripple effects through ecosystems. Benefit number four, food forests can serve as educational hubs. Already we have organized numerous train maintenance workshops funded by Reforest London. Growing Chefs, which is a local organization, has summer camps at this food forest and some of the other ones that have gone up in the meantime. And it's really exciting to see the next generation growing up. My daughter and son and their friends are so excited to be going out there. They forage for food, they play among the plants, and they also help out in maintaining the garden. Finally, benefit number five. Food forests will give us a more resilient food system that is better adapted to climate change shocks. Diverse, perennial-based agricultural systems have been shown to be a lot more resilient to outside shocks. Just check out what's happened in Puerto Rico and which of the farms have survived better. Food forests also mean that we can store a lot more carbon. In fact, agroforestry and agroecology, so these are the scientific branches of this food forest movement, they are based in a large part on perennial species, and they can really help in sequestering carbon, putting that into the ground, into the soil. So to conclude, food forests and edible forest gardens provide edible landscapes that are climate resilient, that produce lots of food, that offer educational opportunities, and that bring communities together. Now, gardens by definition need human oversight, need human presence. Could employ a lot of people working in these urban and peri-urban food forests. Will it be easy? Absolutely not. Food forests by definition require people to think, especially to think in systems, to think in ecosystems. You can't just dump fertilizer and chemicals on the landscape. and hope that you have your problem solved. By food foresting London, we will not be going back, but forward into an ecologic future where we model our human systems on how nature works. So let's put forest and food back in the forest city. Let's turn London into the food forest city. Thank you.
Thanks for the opportunity to be here this evening. I'm Steve Sauder, and I'm going to talk a little bit about systems. Standing there in the greenest building in the City of London, the Watershed Conservation Centre at the Upper Thames River Conservation Authority. I've been working at the Conservation Authority for 37 years, so my life outside the Conservation Authority, inside the Conservation Authority really doesn't change. So I actually live just outside of the city on a farm, and that farm I've been working at for 25 years. So let's talk a little bit about how that connects with the city. So the city and all the farms in the Upper Thames watershed are connected by water, and all the water that flows off of that river, off of that land into the Trout Creek, in the case of where I live, flows down into the North Thames and then comes down in through Fanshawe Conservation Area and right down into where we're close by where we are here, flows by, and all the way down to Lake St. Clair through Chatham. And that water is the liquid of life. We've been talking a lot about systems, a lot about energy, and absolutely sun is the source of energy for all living things. And I like technology. I like the things that Skylar was talking about technology and how we can use those things. And I like how wildlife, and Brian, all the work you're doing and how that's all important for wildlife. And I love the forests and the food gardens. And I love the connection of energy and good energy and bad energy. And it's all so important in everything we do on our land and our connection to the land. So take a little journey around my farm for a moment. Green is good. I love the title for tonight because green, I always say that, green is good. Sorry if you don't like brown, but I say brown is bad. And on an agricultural landscape, because if the water flowing off is going through green, living things, it's staying nice and clear as it goes into the stream. If it's flowing over barren dirt, and that's whether it's in the city here or in a rural area, it picks up that dirt. And what does that mean? If it's going into the water and you see brown water running in, we have phosphorus in there, we have pollution in that water, and that's the source of the problems we have in Lake Erie with the algae blooms. So what can we do on that landscape? All the things we've been talking about, planting trees. We started off 25 years ago, Kobe and I, eager and tons of energy, and we planted 6,000 trees. We tried to plant as many different native species as possible and as many different biodiversity as possible, because biodiversity is so important for the planet. But we tried lots of other things from a system standpoint, thinking about our own personal situation. What's our septic like? Well, put in a biofilter. Let the bugs do the work. Eat up all the nasties. The water comes out 95% pure. We put a roof on our house that was made of recycled plastic that'll last for 50 years, and at the end you can recycle the roof. We put in solar thermal so we could take that energy from the sun and heat our hot water, and all we need is about 2 hours a day of sunshine, and we get all the hot water we need for the house. We put up a 10 kilowatt solar system that will support about 6 farms our size and produce enough energy a year for them. And then when the past provincial government came in and put in the incentive for electric cars, of course we bought an electric car so we could power our car with our solar panels and drive in that way. So there's lots of things you can do at home and using technology, but also just using the landscape, making sure you're planting things that are green, making as much of your own food as you can. I've had a chance to go around the world a little bit. I'm doing less traveling because I think that's a huge environmental footprint, traveling. But I did see places on the planet where it's very hard to plant anything, and Kobe and I both came back and said, we have absolutely no excuse for not using every inch of this wonderful soil we have right here to grow our own food. So anyhow, a few things about myself and connection with green and nature, and as I say, my connection with the Conservation Authority is embedded, and all of the things that I talked about there are the things that the Conservation Authority is trying to do every single day. Today I was out planting trees with kids up on the Cade property. Wonderful 90-year-old farmer donated 78 acres of his farm to restore. The day before that, we were out creating wetlands and planting trees in Burgess Park in Woodstock. Lots of great things going on all around the watershed to try and make this a better place. Thanks very much.
Well, Sego, hello again. It's nice to come back up here. And my name is Bill Hill. Lutnegungaste is my spirit name, which means standing strong spirit. And my duty to humanity is to help people stand up inside themselves. So I'm a mental health worker. I started out in 1982 at London Psychiatric Hospital as a nurse. And then I went into social work. And now I'm a project leader for Bigajis Khan, which is translated as the rotting stump. So the program's name is the Rotting Stump. And people go, what the heck would you name your program a rotting stump for mental health? And I want to explain why we went with that. It's a concept more than a translation. So the translation means that, you have healthy trees in your mind, if you have a mind of a forest. You have healthy trees. You have broken trees or broken thoughts. You have saplings or new thoughts. You have a healing lodge inside yourself. You're your own healing energy. And you have a fire next to that healing lodge. And above you is your universe. And above you is your grandfather sun and your grandmother moon and the stars that are your ancestors. And you have a universe that looks out for you. You truly do. And we're fortunate enough to be sitting here in the same universe. All of us, no matter what color you are, no matter what your mom and dad sound like when they speak, and no matter what shape your eyes are, all that. This whole planet is something we all agree to take care of. And the question is, will she agree to take care of us if we don't treat her properly? So that's the whole concept of this program that we're trying to do, that is what's broken in you is what's strong in you. It is the strongest part of you. We are called the rotting stump because, as you were sharing, that forest takes care of itself by what rots, and it falls back into the root. So whatever it is that's broken in you is actually what's strong, because everybody can smile on good old-fashioned Facebook. Everybody can be happy on Facebook, because that's what I want you to think I am, is real happy, and this is how happy I am, and this is what I'm doing to be happy. But we don't ever talk about how we're feeling. Especially men, we don't talk to each other about how we're feeling. So the program is about talking about what's rotting in you and how can it feed you instead of be what your pain is. Your pain is not your punishment, was what I thought at first in my own story. It is my power and my ability that if I can tame what it is that's rotting and put it into the right root, that perhaps my saplings will be good. So the program itself is about being able to take what seems to be broken and using it to make you well. So what we're trying to do with Bigajiskan is to work out back at Reforest London and Westminster Ponds and be able to do land-based healing. So we would build our own sweat lodges back there. We would build sweat lodges on the actual property of St. Joseph's Health Center and Parkwood Hospital. Our end game is to have elder-guided psychiatry, elder-guided treatment, elder-guided discharge and intake services, so that no matter what community you are from, if you are being served by our hospital, I would go about and find the elders within your communities so that when you have to come into hospital, home is here. I've worked there 37 years and I never once experienced an Indigenous person have their identity as part of their wellness, have their culture as part of their treatment. So for me to be able to witness this and to be able to be the leader of that program is a true honor. And it's a true honor because it's an opportunity to work amongst these people that I've worked with in my circle at work that aren't Indigenous, but are very kind, that are very good at what they do. I don't want one doctor to stop doing what they're doing. Keep doing what you're doing because I believe in what you're doing because my community deserves to be well as well. But I need you to enhance it by listening to the elders. I need you to enhance it by listening to the people from the communities that are trying to teach you. And that is what I'm really grateful about. So what we're going to try and do, the land-based healing, isn't just using our ceremonies there. We're going to be growing our own medicines. So we're going to be harvesting our medicines there. So what we're going to be doing, I'm not used to talking like this. All I want to do is an Elvis impersonation. I can't even tell you that. So what we're going to be trying to do is we're going to be trying to grow our medicines right on the property of the hospital so that the hospital can honor the medicines that we use. So we can have a relationship with those medicines. So we can care for them, and then they can care for us. And that reciprocal relationship is because we're going to be growing those things right within the grounds of the mental health hospital. So that mental health becomes something that is culture is care. It's not spiritual care. It's culture is care. It's not, it is more so the opportunity for you to be yourself when you're getting well. Because I don't care who you are. I don't care where you're from. There's a level of mental wellness that you carry. And we are all sitting here as this quivering mass of humanity that only wants to talk about what's going good. So I'm hoping that what we can do through this program is to be able to take things that are natural and make wellness natural. So what does green mean to me? Being new at something, not knowing something, being curious and willing to learn. To learn you, I want to learn you. I want to know who you are because it's so important that we take the time. How many opportunities did you miss because you did not give that person an opportunity to speak and be heard? How many times in your life have you not been heard? And how much does that hurt? That hurts the most. You can whack someone around all you want. You hurt their soul and you reach them. So that's what we're trying to do, is to reach their soul, reach that ability to say, be who you are and get well while you're here in this hospital. So I'm very grateful for this opportunity to be able to speak here and to work and meet with so many good people that are trying to do the same thing. Kindness, I mean, that the planet can be taken care of, but every exhalation you make feeds one of those trees. And every exhalation that she makes feeds one of you. And there's only one quality that life has that you only can do maybe a minute without, and that's oxygen. And that's what that gives you. So, Nyako, thank you kindly for the opportunity to have this. I mean, there was a time in my life where if someone was to tell me that I'd be standing with my father's feather and my brother's feather talking to you about indigeneity, I'd say you're crazy. I'm Irish. Because I'm a pastor white Indian and I know it. And I know it. And it was so easy for me to hide in my skin. And I can't do it anymore. And someone said to me one time from my community, it must be nice to have that luxury to hide in that skin. And I said to them, I'll be the judge of my luxuries. I said I was hiding. It didn't feel good. Be kind to one another, no matter where you're from. Open your hearts to each other. And open your hearts to everything that's out there, because everything that you enjoy in your life comes from the woman, Mother Earth. Nyoko.